Wait, let me put the thing on our Dick's Corks. Dick Corpse. That's not right. Okay. Whenever you're ready.
Okay. Yeah. Dude, I am not feeling great tonight.
God, I totally know what you mean. That eggnog will get you every time.
Wait, what? I've got tonsillitis. What's this about eggnog?
Oh, you know, whenever you see eggnog in the store for the first time, tradition mandates you got to drink an entire carton right away. I guess it was just too much for my stomach this year.
Bro, I'm lactose intolerant. This is definitely not a tradition of mine.
All right, well, let's make it a 3-bit tradition. Each episode after Thanksgiving, we do the eggnog challenge, and you have to drink a full carton during the episode.
Okay, yeah. What are we going to call it? The diarrhea episode?
What? No, I'm talking about eggnog. Do you got your carton?
No.
You're seriously going to leave me hanging on our tradition?
Okay. This happens when JD writes stuff and tells me not to read it until we go live.
Oh, you want to just run through the whole thing? Or
Let's
what
do it again. Start over from the top.
Ah.
All right. Dude, I'm not feeling great tonight.
Yeah, I totally know what you mean. That eggnog will get you every time.
Wait, what? I've got tonsillitis, but what's this about eggnog?
Oh, you know, whenever you see eggnog in the store the first time, tradition mandates you got to drink an entire carton right away. I guess it was just too much for my stomach this year.
Bro, I'm lactose intolerant. This is definitely not a tradition of mine.
Okay, well, let's make it a new 3-bit tradition. At each episode after Thanksgiving, we do the eggnog challenge where you have to drink a whole carton of eggnog during the episode.
Yeah, what are we going to call it? The diarrhea episode?
What? No, dude, I'm talking about eggnog. Whatever. You got your carton?
No.
You're seriously going to leave me hanging on our tradition here?
Okay, fine. I'll just butt chug it.
You've just chugged into the 3-Bit Gamer Show. Welcome to the 3-Bit Gamer Show. I'm JD.
This is Peterson.
And I guess kick your legs up in the air. It's ready for you. Get ready for a new episode.
This is I'm trying to picture butt chugging eggnog, and I don't like it.
You hold the carton with the insides of your feet, and you just kind of lean back.
Yeah, it sounds messy. I'm in.
Live from the 3-Bit Gamer Show. The news. All right, our news this week is brought to us by Crave Cookies. Crave Cookie. Damn it. Crave Cookies is this cookie shop spread all across this great nation. You go to cravecookies.com and find a Crave Cookies near you. And if you're on the website, you will see their cookies of the week, what they've got right now. But we will be spoiling for you because that's what we do. Spoiler warning on this whole episode. We're spoiling what cookies are coming next.
Yeah,
next month.
Now I do have to add the spoiler warning just because of the cookie of the week.
Spoiler tag. Yep.
Yeah.
The next month, starting December 1st, which is I don't know, Friday or whatever. Kicking off some new cookies. We've got the Death by Red Velvet, which I think is relatively new. Biscoff gingerbread. Don't know that Trent's done a gingerbread cookie. Probably.
I know. I was going to say I don't know if I've had a
one.
gingerbread one.
Cherry Danish. This one reminds me of this big cherry Danish Trent's mom would bring over to our house every Christmas, and I would eat it every Christmas morning. The whole effing thing. Parent Trap, that peanut butter Oreo thing. Right. Excellent. And the chocolate cream pie. So, yeah, get on down, wiggle your butt, and get your cookie chugged. Bandai Namco tried to sneak some AI voice acting into their latest Naruto game, and it went about as well as you'd think.
So it went super well.
Yeah, perfectly, barely anyone noticed. Except everyone noticed because it's terrible. This is Naruto X Boruto.
that
You think they're doing a joke? Or do you think they don't care that the names rhyme?
that doesn't sound right. That
Are they doing a
doesn't
joke?
sound right.
Is Boruto like Bizarro Naruto?
Naruto X
Why does
Boruto.
his name sound? It's like Mario versus Wario, which you're like, haha. It's funny because it's like they rhyme. Naruto X Boruto Ultimate Ninja Storm Connections, which as of right now scored itself a Blurstein nomination for worst name. Look at that thing. Naruto X Boruto Ultimate Ninja Storm Connections. Cut my head off. What is this? So Naruto is this anime, if you guys may be familiar with it, and these games have traditionally been like take place in like parts of the story that have told throughout the anime, but this one just jumps all over the whole thing. And so it's kind of random, and it also includes stuff that's covered by previous games in the anime. So they're like reusing lines from stories they've already told in past Naruto games. Maybe they're Naruto X Boruto. I'm not a Naruto experto.
Wow, well done.
Thank you. But these lines came out, or this game came out, and people started to like listen to these lines and compare them to A, their lines in the anime, and B, their lines in past games. And even the voice actor, this is coming from Naruto's English voice actor, Male Flanagan. He replied on Twitter, I think, after they were like, dude, what the F? He said, quote, I can guarantee I did not say that line that way. What's that from? And I guarantee you no voice director of Naruto or the games would have me do it in that way. So he basically confirms like that ain't me.
That's not me. Yeah.
They've changed how it's delivered. So Peterson
wanna hear
has some
some
of
of
these
them?
clips pulled up. Yeah, let's spin some of these.
Okay, so I'm gonna play this is the one that's in the game.
Mm-hmm.
Did that wake you up?
Can
Okay.
you turn that up?
Yeah, I'm gonna do it again. I'll turn it up.
Did that wake you up?
Okay. Now let me play you the real version. This is the one that's not in the game.
Did that wake you up?
Sounds
Seamless.
natural, sounds normal. The
Yeah.
other one's clearly been like clipped in some weird way.
Yeah, I don't understand. So let me give you another one. Okay, we got another one. Ready?
It's time to unleash the power of God.
That sounds like the TikTok voice. Do it again.
It's time to unleash the power of God.
That's so
Will
bad.
you permanently add that to our fucking soundboard? That is hilarious. It's time to unleash the power of God. Imagine Clay, you're unleashing the power of God, and you're like not that stoked about it. You're like, I do this every day. This is a Tuesday for me.
This is the one, the voice acted one.
It's time to unleash the power of God.
Sounds totally like a video game, not the TikTok AI voice. And then let's see, last one. Here we go.
So long.
Dude, the break in between it is wild. Does it do it again? Watch.
So long.
So long. And then this is the OG. This is the voice acted one.
So long, loser.
So long, loser.
So there's like some unconfirmed people on Twitter that are saying, oh, my friend ran this through a program and it's confirmed that it was AI. And so we haven't had anything like official, but official enough for me is that the company hasn't denied this. This is an easy one. If you haven't done this, you can come out and say, this is what happened. This is why these voices got cut. We had a sound editor that was reusing clips and he, I don't know, did something stupid. Added too much gain. I don't fucking know. But clearly, they were using AI, which has been scraping these voices. They're just clipping it. They don't want to call the voice actors back in. and pay them extra money, and so they're gonna have AI handle it. The actor didn't even fucking know what this game was, so he clearly wasn't part of it. He didn't work on it. It wasn't included in this. Dude, this is crazy. So all of these fears that these actors had that had them striking, and I don't know if they still are striking. I think some of the actors are still striking. The writers aren't, if I remember. Or do I have that backwards?
I don't know.
Either way, this was a huge concern, and it looks like they're already. It's not like, oh, people are going to start playing with it. If you're doing it now and it's being released in games, they were playing with it a year ago. So this is going to be, I think 2024 is going to be the year of companies being sniffed out for sneaking shitty AI into their games.
Getting caught,
because they've all done it. They all spent 2023 doing it. I saw this report that NVIDIA like tripled their sales this year, all just based on generative AI. And that's what it is. That's what you need. You need all the processing power. So I think it's being used like crazy. But all we see, for the most part, is like stupid, shitty AI art where people have 20 fingers. What's really happening is this. The companies are going fucking ham with it. We don't even know. So that's my prediction. 2024 is going to be the year of AI. And because it's too late now. The games are in production. If they wanted to strip out the AI in this one, they'd have to call all the voice actors in, have them re-voice act the whole game. They said, fuck it, send it out with the shitty voice acting. Who cares? It's Naruto x Boruto. People love us.
People are going to love it.
Despite being one of the best years for gaming in history, video game companies spent the whole year relentlessly punishing developers. What did they do wrong? What could they have done better other than make all these executives multi-millionaires 5 times over? I don't know. This came from a kind of a long article in Polygon. The title is Video Game Company Layoffs Are Creating an Industry Crisis. I would recommend everyone go check this out. It's good for at least a skim. They talked to like a dozen or so game developers they interviewed talking about their experiences over the last year. And it's the worst. I don't know. Like, we talk about what reckoning's coming for the industry in terms of unions or whatever, but that doesn't even seem like it's going to be fast. I mean, the industry is like in trouble with the amount of gutting that's been happening. Because if you have to, one thing that this article helped me contextualize is that these layoffs are coming on the year we're talking about. 2023, where everything's going so well and all these games are coming out and crushing it. What does that mean if all these games are coming out? Well, what did the game developers spend the last year and a half, 2 years doing? Crunching. So these people, I missed this. I guess I didn't make this connection. These people that have been working on all these crazy games that have been coming out that are doing so well this year have been working their asses off for 2 years. Their game comes out, it does gangbusters, and then they get laid off. They don't even get a break. This is like, and I know there's a lot of people that are like, oh, there's a difference between people getting laid off and contracts not being extended. I'm like, kinda, but when it's a situation like this, and
it doesn't feel different. I can tell you
really
that.
feel different when you worked right alongside a bunch of other employees on the same game and did the same work, and then you were just like kind of just tossed aside, like we don't fucking care. This is let's see, this is a direct quote from the article that I liked. 2 Epic Games employees laid off in October found it particularly painful when they saw that weeks after they were laid off alongside hundreds of others, Epic Games was boasting about its record-breaking player base. 44.7 million players logged in Fortnite on November 4th. So what is that? How does that even fucking make sense? And then there was another part of the article that talks about these people are basically just nonstop applying for jobs.
Yeah.
You're just in like a constant loop. And that was something I could really relate to, because in tech, I feel like either I'm contracts running out or I'm getting laid off like every fucking year. And I'm just applying for jobs all over again.
Which is, it's a drain. It's, I mean, I've watched you going through it, and it's like, it's so draining and just, and then on top of this, right, these guys are all applying to the same jobs because we just laid off so many people in the game
and
industry.
everyone's super qualified, right? And so you have all these industry veterans applying for jobs. Anyone new that's coming into this industry has no chance. But everyone that's already been there is kind of like getting burned out. So it's just bad all around. There's one game developer that they were talking to. They got laid off from Sega and applied to more than 600 jobs since he was let go 8 months ago. So he just applies for job 800 jobs or 600 jobs. It's fucking insane. And then it said, this is the quote that just speaks to exactly what you were saying. Quote, "It feels like there's thousands of us competing for a handful of jobs. It doesn't feel like that. It is that, brother. That's exactly what's happening. It's punishing." So
I guarantee you there's like a pool of people applying to every same job. You're competing with the same 30 people on everything that's out there, right? Because you're all looking at the same time with the same levels of experience. Dude, it's rough.
To share a small personal anecdote, I recently got a rejection from a job where I knew them, one of two people that would be on the team. As she was a former manager of mine for like 2 years, loved me to death. We were really good friends, continued to be friends and remain in contact for years and years. I applied for this job at our company. I do what I thought really well and in the interviews and sailed through everything. And I ended up, I got a rejection. And so I texted her. I was like, "Hey man, that's a bummer. Let me know if there's like anything like what I could have done better." And she's like really upfront and honest with me. And I thought she'd be open, and she was. She said, "No, you were great. Just really god awful competition right now. Like it's just really rough."
Yeah.
So like, dude, even if you've got a foot in the door, someone like speaking on your behalf who has worked with you professionally, that's how rough the competition is out there. And I'm just in general tech, not a very siloed, teeny tiny part of tech. I can't even imagine, dude. They're all just gonna fucking quit. Snorgle on our chat here in YouTube said that this could be a huge boon for indie shops. I think that's the only option. That's it. That's the only place for these people to go, because AAAs aren't going to hire them for the salaries they need to survive. AAAs are going to be trying to scrape up new grads and milk them for all they're worth, because they haven't gone through this experience yet of crunching for years and then getting laid off immediately after while the company's bragging about huge profits. I fucking hate this industry sometimes, man. Oh, God.
Yeah, it's funny because I feel like I go back to, we talk about it so much and report about it so much. In my professional life, I end up going back to this all the time, just how poorly some employees can be treated. And I make anecdotes all the time in meetings and stuff about the video game industry and how poor it is, as kind of a lesson to be learned. So, because it is wild how bad it is. Rarely do we report on like great stuff. And I know there's good experiences out there and some people are really enjoying it, but like coming to work and just after delivering a game that made $1 billion and then not knowing if you're going to be laid off or not, I mean, that's got to be so stressful. I can't even imagine.
And you know what? If they did have all the unions and guilds that they should and will eventually, this could be a thing you know about. Like if you are in Hollywood and you work on movies, you know a couple things. You have to live in Los Angeles. Fucking period. Like that's it. Maybe a couple people in Georgia can make it work, or New York. For the most part, you're going to have to move to Los Angeles. And you work on a film or whatever, and then it's over. And you're gone and you're cut loose. And that's what you know. But these companies, these video game companies, want to have it both ways. And so they're pretending to be actual like tech companies when in fact they're just doing what they're like movie studios. Essentially, they're studios and they need to behave and prep and plan, but there's no protections for these employees. So they're just taking advantage of them. They're lying. Oh, we'll give you healthcare. We'll give you all this stuff. And you'll be able to build a career here. And they know the second that game ships, they're going to have 30% layoffs.
They get rid of half the staff. Yeah.
Because they don't have another game for 5 years. So they gotta trim the budget.
Yep.
I hate it. A new report has found a good reason why mobile games suck so bad. 83% of them fail in the first 3 years after launch, and 43% are canceled in development.
So they're just
a shotgun approach, just throwing spaghetti against a wall and hoping that something sticks.
And honestly, hoping it sticks for like 6 months.
Yeah.
Like if your game is top of the charts for 6 months, you've made it.
This is this is research from a company called Atomic Research with a K. Let's see, this was called the Super Scales Good Games Don't Die report. It was published this week based on interviews with 500 game developers in the UK and the US. And a couple stats here, other than the ones we already talked about, is the 6% of launched games reach peak revenue in the first year, but only 4% reach peak during the second year. And then let's see, despite the failure rate of new titles, 78% of developers prefer working on these games. So to just parse all of this out, mobile games are just a constant exercise in failure. But if you hit it big, you can hit it really big to the extent. And I think that if I'm being honest and I'm thinking about it, I wasn't really that surprised that 78% of these developers preferred working on these, because what is a game like? How unsatisfying is it to work on a AAA game for years and years and years, and maybe you leave the company, or maybe it doesn't come out, or maybe it turns into Anthem. But if you're working on a mobile game, I mean, you're making it in a year and it's out. And if it sucks, it's dead, and you work on the next one.
And you're on the next one. I mean, even you could probably do them faster than that.
Yeah.
So you're just pumping different games out, working on different things. That makes sense.
I never really thought of that before, but I do think that's interesting that when we talk about the game industry and where it really punishes game developers, I think it's a lot in those AAA's main games. But I guess I didn't think that mobile games are a little bit sheltered from that. So that's kind of cool.
Interesting.
Despite denials, Ubisoft is obviously working on pause screen ads for their games.
It was a mistake. It was an accident. We didn't try to do it.
How the fuck dumb do they think we are? That this is something that can just accidentally... This is I dropped my phone and it sent you a dick pic accident. Like, how is it technologically possible for me to click start or back or whatever to pull up my map? And instead of a map, it pulls up an ad that has a buy option where I can go buy this DLC or this next game or whatever the fuck they were advertising. Or I can press B, and I press B and it takes me back to the map, which is what I tried to open. You're telling me all of that was an accident? How the hell?
You go to open up your in-game map in a single-player game, and it pulls up a Black Friday ad for Assassin's Creed Mirage. Are you kidding me?
Then you do it.
And they're like, it was an accident.
Here's their statement. This is great. Quote, our intention was to display a promotion for Assassin's Creed Mirage as part of the franchise news in the main menu of Assassin's Creed games. Unfortunately, this technical error caused the promotion to appear in one of our in-game menus instead. We want to ensure the best player experience possible, and these disruptive pop-ups were promptly removed once we learned of the issue. We appreciate your understanding as we investigate the cause of the issue.
If menu, then ad. Is that the programming that the program?
That's basically what they want us to understand. They promptly removed it once we learned you promptly removed it once you saw 5 Reddit posts and 20 articles about it.
This was a test.
Yeah. And they're like, they're not ready. They're not ready yet, but they will be. They'll be desperate enough soon.
They're just prepping us. They're like, oh, this was an accident. We were not going to do this for real. In 1 year, they'll do this for real.
Yeah. Load screen ads. We're talking like, I mean, this is like you said, it's a single player game. You try to open the map and you're getting ads.
That would be wildly infuriating.
And even if it's, they say main menu here, and I don't know if that's like if you hit like escape on your keyboard or whatever, like it brings up like quit or save game or return to menu, or if it's the actual main menu. I like to give them the benefit of the doubt that it's the main menu, because if they're saying, oh, the pause menu that brings up the couple options, if you put an ad on the pause menu on a single player game, that also is going to ruin it for me. Like, all of these things are going to completely ruin the game entirely. If I'm seeing fucking ads if I'm seeing ads anywhere.
Yeah. Like, this is kind of what you'd expect to see in a games as a service game. Like, you see it all the time in like a Warzone type of thing.
Sure. That was free.
Non-playing ads, you'll see them, but like in the middle of a game is wild. But a single player also is wild. If it's anything outside of like in the launcher, you know how like sometimes they'll have their own launcher. If it's outside of the launcher, like if you've launched a game already and then they're putting ads in there, it's too much. It's too much.
And it's the laziest form of advertising. This is the internet pop-up approach to advertising. And I think it shows where Ubisoft is right now. They have no real innovation. They are just making sequels to franchises that they came up with at a minimum 10 years ago. Some of them are 20 years old. And instead of trying to innovate or do something new or different, they're not even trying to be innovative in how they incorporate ads. They're just shoving them in.
It was an accident, JD. Okay.
This is so fucking bleak, dude. This is so bleak. Am I not going to be able to play Far Cry 7? Because every time I like press any button, there's an ad that I have to hold another button to
a reload ad.
Yeah. Kill me. Tim Sweeney takes the gloves off and declares that Google is a crooked bully. I like that name calling is the soup du jour in just 2023. That's just what you do. You just name call. Professionals in business, politicians, just buttheads and idiots and assholes, douchebags, losers, butt munchers.
Ooh, yeah.
Tim Sweeney goes on the witness stand at this trial. You guys remember this Epic Games versus Google, where just to briefly sum up, Google or Epic was like, we're going to put Fortnite on our website. And because Android lets you download apps from wherever, not just their Play Store, Google wasn't super happy about this. There's nothing they could do about it because they wanted, a cut of the cut, and they wanted it as part of their Play Store. And so then Epic Games decides to push it further and introduce an in-game store where they could spend money and supersede the Google Play Store, which violates Google's and Android's terms of service. So within hours of this update, Fortnite gets pulled from Google phones, Android phones, and the minute later, Fortnite or Epic Games files a lawsuit against Apple. So this is, that lawsuit's still going. Tim Sweeney takes the stand for 2 hours. He gets questioned by his own attorney and then cross-examined by Google's attorney. He talks a couple of things he talks shit about. He says that Google actually called him to Mountain View to, quote, cajole him into putting Fortnite on the Play Store instead of selling it on their own website. So let's see, he said, quote, this is a quote from Tim Sweeney. It seemed like a crooked arrangement. Google was proposing a series of side deals which seemed designed to convince Epic not to compete against them. Like, this is a normal deal in business. He's not wrong. It's crooked and evil. And everything Google fucking does is crooked and evil. But I feel like he's just kind of deciding selectively he's not okay with this one because it's costing his billion-dollar company some money.
Yeah, because it's costing them money.
Uh-huh. And it's interesting. Sweeney didn't mention or say why Epic hasn't tried to challenge the 30% commission charge on game playing devices other than smartphones. So, you still have to do it like through Steam or whatever. But I guess there's just more money on phones. That's the point. Anyone he thinks he can win this one. So this is the last quote from Tim Sweeney. We want the jury to find Google has violated the law so the court can force Google to stop these practices. So I hope the court decides I get more money and Google gets less money. Why are we reporting on this? I'm sorry. We can just move on. Fucking billionaires jerking off at each other. Soon who comes last. Fuck right you guys.
Who has to eat the cracker?
Yeah, I hope you get run over by a bus before either of you gets to eat the cracker. Riblets. All right, much better than Ookie Cookie. Riblets are these little nuggets of meat that are wrapped around broken fragments of bone and deep fried and dunked in sweetened ketchup sauce.
Oh.
I'm just reading the transcript from the Applebee's ad. Okay?
Can you imagine?
They just get super honest with their advertising.
If AI writes your ad, this is what we're getting.
I'm fucking here for it. The latest trailer for South Park Snow Day is a blast from the past when South Park games used to suck. I went and watched this trailer, and I don't know if you saw it. This is South Park Snow Day is a new game from, I don't even know who's making this, but it's not Ubisoft who made those last two good ones. THQ Nordic.
Yeah.
But unlike the last, the Stick of Truth and the Fractured Butthole, this one is a 3D adventure game where your character is like jumping around everywhere. It's like a 3D platforming action beat 'em up kind of game with lots of spells and other nonsense. But wait a sec, I watched this trailer and I actually can't figure out what fucking kind of game this is. Like the gameplay, it's supposed to be a gameplay trailer, which doesn't really help.
I thought it was a multiplayer game.
It is, I guess. And you can like play with a bunch of other people, randoms online, or play with your own friends. But I'm just telling, this game's going to suck. South Park Snow Day is going to feel like a 90s South Park game.
It is going to be very bad.
Yeah. Or an early 2000s South Park game. This is those two, Stick of Truth and Fractured Butthole, were the only two good South Park games I think that have ever been made. And we're just getting back to form now. So don't expect much out of this one.
Those were the anomaly? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, well, and it's so weird. It shouldn't be an anomaly. All they did was make the game look exactly like the show. It's not that fucking hard. It was a 2D side-scrolling game, just like the show is. It was perfect. The show is a perfect format for the game, and everyone's scared to do it that way again because, we don't want to rip off Ubisoft. You're not ripping off Ubisoft. You're ripping off South Park for a South Park game.
Want to hear
Ubisoft didn't invent what South Park looks like. They did. Ugh.
Something real quick, something funny. I'm on the Steam page for South Park Snow Day, and it says similar to games you've played, Hogwarts Legacy and Shadow of War. I don't think that's what I want in a South Park game.
Even if it was, again, yeah, you're right. I don't want
Shadow of War.
I want the comedy to be like South Park comedy, not just the voices saying stupid shit, which is what it kind of seems like. Just
absolutely, 100%.
Matt Parker and Trey Stone are just going to do a bunch of lines and they'll cram them into a shitty game, and it'll be another South Park game.
After 2 hours, you'll be like, I've heard all the lines so many times now, and none of it's funny. You're just going to
it's not funny now, and now I'm realizing the game sucks. Gabe Newell has given everyone permission to delay their games. He just said, "Hey, guess what, Gabe?" And he's like gaming Santa, right? He's like the Santa of the gaming industry, or some sort of like demigod figure in the gaming industry. I don't know. Pick your demigod.
Let's stick with Santa. He's the Violent Night Santa, a little bit more gritty, a little more realistic.
That is such a sick ass movie. I cannot wait to rewatch it.
I was telling Kelsey that. I was like, dude, when we get home, we're watching Violent Night again.
God, he just kills the shit out of everyone. Gabe Newell was talking about the decision to delay the original Half-Life game back in 96 or 97. And he said, this is the quote. Quote, late is just for a little while. Suck is forever.
Suck is forever.
We could try to force this thing out the door, but that's not the company we want to be. That's not the people we want to be. That's not the relationship we want to have with our customers. I wish everyone could take this quote, print it on their wall in their studio like a live, laugh, love quote. Nice and big. 12-inch
Suck
letters.
Is forever. That's what
Suck is forever. Delay the game as long as you need. Honestly, because suck is forever. Last year is Jeff Keighley apparently believes there is no definition for what an indie game is. What an asshole.
That doesn't feel
He's
right.
talking on a Twitch Q&A about the game awards this year and how Dave the Diver won Indie Game of the Year, despite the fact that the company that published it or owns the company that made it is like a huge game company. It is not an indie studio that made Dave the Diver. Straight up. And maybe, I guess, my personal pet theory is that neither Jeff Keighley nor the hundreds of game journalists he claims to have voting for the Game Awards winners did their due diligence and raised their hand and said, hey, Dave the Diver isn't a fucking indie game by any metric. Nah, they just went ahead and he's doing damage control because he's been called out and he's like, oh, I just assumed because it was quirky that it was an indie game. So this is his quote. Honestly, what a fucking jackass. Like, seriously, this guy's been in the game industry for 20 fucking years. He knows he sounds like a jackass here.
He knows he sounds like an idiot, yeah.
Quote, you can argue, does independent mean the budget of the game? Does independent mean where the source of financing was? Is it based on the team size? Is it the kind of independent spirit of a game, meaning kind of a smaller game that is different? Are you fucking stupid? Dude, this guy sounds like a fucking politician just talking out of his ass, just openly lying and just gish-galloping, just trying to get through it. I can't fucking believe it. Does independent mean where the source of financing was? Yes. Yes. Yes, you stupid fuck. Stop there. But he goes, is it based on the team size? Is it the kind of independent spirit of a game? Meaning kind of a smaller game that is different. A smaller game that is different? Dude, fold all of your fingers into a fist and punch your own mouth as hard as you fucking can. You stupid ass.
We all know. Here's why Dave the Diver snuck through. Because it's made, I was just looking at it. It's made by Mint Rocket. You never heard of them. But they're owned by Nexon Games, which is a publicly traded company. They've got 7,000 employees, right? So
7,000 indie employees because they're doing something small and kind of different.
So they definitely should not be an indie studio. The game feels like it snuck through because it feels like it was made by an indie studio.
Yes,
but it was not.
Exactly, and I think, like I said, he's
just trying to like
for
backtrack.
His own stupid award show.
Yeah,
and the idiots that vote for it. This is why we don't cover this fucking award show on this podcast. We just straight up don't because it's horse shit. And now here's more horse shit out of Jeff Keighley's mouth. He said, "Quote: You can argue it either way." Yeah, you can if you're a gigantic sack of shit liar.
You can argue anything, Jeff.
You can argue anything you want. And everyone will fucking hate you because you're being an asshole. Quote, I think we're open to thinking moving forward, how do you define that category? We have to define the criteria. So he like kind of talks himself in circles, and then he realizes he's an asshole and kind of buys himself an out. Like I said, he was filibustering a Twitch Q&A. Fuckhead.
He does. All he needs to say is, you know what? We just honestly, we didn't realize.
Yes,
we thought it was an indie game. It's not. That's it.
We both probably did. You and I. But
yeah, I thought it was an indie game.
But we wouldn't have actually given it if were we doing an award show. I would like to think we do slightly more due diligence,
at least a little bit,
on what the categories actually are, other than it looks a little different. Dude, by this motherfucker's definition, Pokemon Red and Blue were indie games. Because like indies. One fucking guy developed most of them, and they only had a handful of people working on it, and it was kind of a smaller game that's different. Pokemon Red and Blue, the most notoriously successful indie games of all fucking time, made by that little indie shop Nintendo, you know. Unbelievable. Fuck Jeff Keighley. Fuck the Game Awards. Get your shit together, boys. Take a note out of the Blursties page. We do this every year. And now you get to be nominated. Fuck.
Kudos. Kudos. Kudos.
Sometimes I'm a real butthead and I'm real negative. So we invented this segment to counteract that, called Kudos, where we get positive for a little bit. Peterson, What are you positive about this week?
So this is a silly kudos. I know it is, but I recently resubscribed to Paramount Plus because we wanted to watch old episodes
Good
of
Burger 2.
Survivor. Good Burger 2. That is on there. Paramount Plus is a streaming service, just like the rest of them. But here's why I'm giving it kudos. Because I've been spending a lot of time on Hulu lately, and we've talked about how bad Hulu is all the time. If I watch an episode of something and stop in the middle of the episode, when I go back to resume watching it, it will start it back over from the beginning every time.
Isn't that what you want?
Yes, start over. Paramount Plus, here's why I was shocked, and I guess this is just like the lowest common denominator made me so happy. I started an episode in the living room of something, and I got past like the initial like ad for the, Paramount Plus, like the 7-second ad. Stopped it right there. That was it. Stopped it right there. Went into my bedroom to finish watching it, hit play, and it just kept from right where I was, just right there. Seamless. I was like, it's going to start me over. It's going to.
You're right. This is a baseline expectation from a streaming service.
Yes, and I'm telling you,
regularly fails at. It's unbelievable.
And Disney Plus has the same issue because it's same people. Like, and so yeah, I was like, wow, Paramount Plus really got their stuff together. Like, they're really doing a great job because it saves my spot in an episode. That's it.
That's why you had this thing on Kudos, is just for that. I thought you saw some really good content on there, but it's just
there is
they're doing the baseline content,
but it's for the actual streaming service itself.
So I was looking at picking this up for me and Jackson to share. Is there a decent amount of, because just for Good Burger too, because we're big fans of the original, would you say that there's enough shit to at least get a couple months worth of watching out of?
There's for us. I might not be for you, but there's at least 1 month in there for you. I think the Ninja Turtles movie's on there that I didn't get to watch. That I want to watch. But yeah, we've been getting back into Survivor, and all the seasons are on there. So I've been watching that. If you want to get into any of the Star Trek stuff, it's all on there.
Oh yeah.
I mean, some of it's pretty good. It's like cartoon one, but they do have a bunch of movies. So I mean, it's good for a month at least. You know what I mean?
Okay.
Hop in for a month, hop out. Hop in for a month. It's not that expensive either. Plus, you can do it through Amazon Prime, so it's like even easier. You don't have to do anything. You just like go onto your Prime and hit Paramount Plus, subscribe 1 month, and then you just like in and out. That's what I've done. This is probably the third time I've subscribed to Paramount Plus. Also, I did just watch, I don't even know what it's called, 1923. It's, remember when I was watching Yellowstone?
Yeah.
1923 is the second prequel to, and actually just watched I finished season 1 because I've been sick today, so I just kind of like binged it. It's really good. I really enjoyed it. My biggest complaint is that it's not done. There's a season 2 coming out at some point because they left a lot of cliffhangers, and so they spent a lot of time in like developing and like, okay, this one guy's gonna come back to the Yellowstone Ranch, and you're like, sweet. He never makes it back because he's got a big long journey from Africa, and so, but it's really good. I really enjoyed it. So if you want to get into that at all, Yellowstone is definitely a good show to get into. I think you guys might like that one. So anyway,
you just reminded me when you mentioned that you were getting into something old. That Jenna and I recently started. You remember how they brought back Kitchen Nightmares, and it's awesome. Well, the old episodes aren't available on. Where are they available? Hold on. I was just trying to remember where they are, because the new one's on Hulu.
Yeah.
And the old one is available on Peacock. I didn't know it was streaming anywhere. So I went to check, and this is the most mind-blowing thing. You guys have to look. If you have Peacock, you have to go watch Kitchen Nightmares on Peacock, because they have the original run of the series uncensored.
All the F words?
Yes, and more, so much more. And I remember back a million years ago, after they had done the original run and it had run out, I think in like 2012 or 2013, and Jackson and I at some point later, a couple years later, they put it back on Hulu with the uncensored version, and it was only there for like 6 months. I swear to God. We went through the whole series, and then we went back to rewatch them, and they were gone. And then when they had them back on streaming platforms like Netflix and stuff, all was censored. So Jackson and I always felt like we tasted this rarefied air when we watched these. And you could get like the DVDs is the only way you could actually see these uncensored. So we had like inside jokes that were based on the vile things these guys say that are typically edited out. I mean, one of the first episodes, this New Jersey guy getting in a shouting match with one of his creditors who shows up at the restaurant. That's like, you owe me money. And he's like, can you bet you fucking blowjob? You're a fucking blowjob. And
he calls him a blowjob.
He's calling him a blowjob. And it's so fucking funny, dude. The things that come out of these owners' mouths, the things that Gordon says to him that like you kind of piece together. You're like, oh, Gordon said something when it was censored for like a full 2 seconds, but then he says something. You're like, oh my God, Gordon, chill,
bro,
chill, daddy. Like, dude, it's a lot. So I would check out Kitchen Nightmares on Peacock. If you want individual episode recommendations, hit me up on Discord. I will provide those because there's some real bangers. And my other kudos I have is silly and small. I'd like to give a shout out to stretching. I know I've talked about yoga before, and I've been doing yoga for years and years. And the more I do it, the better I feel. But I've only recently started doing something that I thought was kind of silly, but I just did it. Anytime I see one of my dogs stretching, I do the same. I figure they're animals. They know better than humans when to do things. And I just like stretch a lot. And I'm realizing that especially people like me who are office workers who sit at a desk all day, even I walk my dogs, I'm an active dude, I do yoga, but the daily like midday stretching, like just stretching randomly is something I don't do. And it's like something you're supposed to do, like your body wants you to do. So bend over, stretch your arms out, stand up and stretch. I know it sounds so dumb. They kept telling us to do this shit during COVID. And you're like, okay, shut the fuck up. Like, I hate everything. I'm not going to. So I'm not going to bake bread. I'm not going to learn how to do these dumb things. But yeah, no, do some stretching. Find a way, find some dumb thing. Like I said, like my dogs that just works as a trigger for you. Because I flipped over a love sack that we have in our house and it tweaked my arm in a way. It feels like, and I was like, dude, what is wrong with me? And it was just like, I'm just not stretching enough.
It just gets worse from there, JD.
I know. So
maybe stretching. Yeah, maybe I need to start stretching. That's not a bad idea.
I'm gonna break something. All right, let's move on.
JD asks.
JD asks.
JD asks.
JD asks?
JD's ass. I don't know, guys. We're going with JD ass. JD's ass.
All right, JD Asks is a segment where I ask something. And this week, I am...
My favorite description.
It's so easy.
Yeah.
What is your Mount Rushmore of games that you wish were delayed? You wish that the developers had taken the advice of Gabe Newell and actually delayed their games, take a little bit longer to make them a little bit better. And, Mount Rushmore has 4 guys on it, but we'll say 3 to 5. However many people you need to, carve into a cherished and treasured monument. It's just whatever you gotta do.
Kind of a disappointing monument that's hard to get to.
Yeah, but you definitely destroyed something that was important to some people that you don't care about. So it feels good.
It does.
You just blew it up with dynamite. People are like, don't do that. That's like a sacred thing. And they're like, nah, we'll fucking blow it up with dynamite. You'll love it.
No, we're gonna put these guys' faces on it. Like it's gonna be
so cool.
Sick. Like
we're not gonna finish their bodies or anything, so it's just gonna be like kind of their heads. But it'll be cool.
Like, can you do it on a different mountain? They're like, nah, this is the one, North Dakota or wherever it is.
So tight. It's in the middle of fucking ass of nowhere. I'll start with one of my my Mount Rushmores is Force Unleashed 2.
Oh, okay. interesting.
I know all mine are kind of from the same era, the early 2000s era. So the Force Unleashed,
mine are from the same era too, earlier this year era. So
okay. The Force Unleashed 2 was the follow-up to the Force Unleashed, which was, I think it was like 2007 or something, where you played as the Darth Vader's secret apprentice. And there were some really cool, it was a classic Star Wars game that we haven't had in a minute, where you could choose whether to be evil or good, kind of. You had these key moments and decisions. You could go dark side or light side, and it affected what you ended up doing. It's really cool. Really, really cool. You had a double lightsaber. You had crazy moves. You were being trained by Darth Vader. You were extraordinarily powerful. And this game was probably one if you don't really remember the game, you may remember the one scene where the main character literally pulls a Star Destroyer out of the sky and crashes it with his hands, like with the Force. It is so fucking sick. So
that's why it's called Force Unleashed, right? Because it's just like,
yeah,
all aspects of the Force, you're just going for it.
Yeah, I think the opening cinematic, Darth Vader shows up and like he's killing everyone, and you're a little kid, and you like fight him, and not well because you're like a very small child, but like you like you go at Darth Vader like you're like a little Yoda kind of a deal. So it was awesome. Loved it to death. It tied the original trilogy with the prequel trilogy. It served as an in-between for those stories, and it was amazing. I loved it. I loved it to death. So everyone loved it, and they liked it. And you, oh, dude, sorry, a couple more things. You fought Rancors just like on the rig, and you could like ride them and like mount them, and then like use them to fight other Rancors, and then go kill a bunch of stormtroopers with your pet Rancor. Like, this game was unrelentlessly cool. Like, it was the coolest Star Wars game, I think, even though the last one, Jedi whatever, that came out, Jedi Survivor, was sick. This game made Jedi Survivor look like a steaming turd. Like, it was, so, especially in its context of its day. It was amazing. So fast forward like 6 months later, and the Force Unleashed 2 comes out somehow. Like, I want to see the actual time of the release, because the first one came out September 16th of 2008, and then the next one came out in October of 2010, and they had not planned on this like coming out.
It wasn't
after.
Yeah.
And it came out, and it had like a 4-hour campaign. I mean, this is a single player game. This was not they cut the campaign down and added a multiplayer. No, they just released a game that you could beat in like 5 hours. Lame. It was I never played it. To this day, I never played it. The cinematic trailer they released for it was the sickest thing ever. Like, there's a super Rancor that comes out and like kills a small, like a normal size Rancor. It's just like the size of its hand. And then you fight the super Rancor. Looks super cool. And everything I read was like, this is the worst game ever. It's such a huge letdown. And then if you read anything about it, because it came out, 15 years ago, all the stuff is like, this is notorious for mismanagement and the game just being rushed. They just wanted it out. They wanted it out as quickly as possible, and they wanted to capitalize on the success of the first one. They rushed it, and it sucked. And it killed. Like, they blame EA. Stop doing single player Star Wars games because of this. They shit their pants on this, trying to make too much money, and they're like, oh, dude, no one wants single player games. They're like, oh, no one wants shitty single player games, which is what you made to justify not making this anymore.
They should have taken their time and made another good one.
Yeah, so this one goes right up there on my Mount Rushmore for it's not only for game that I personally loved, but for its lasting consequences on the Star Wars IP in video games for a decade plus.
For a while, yeah. Let's see. I've got one just from not that long ago, from just a couple months ago. Return to Moria. This is a game we looked at for a long time.
Yep.
Super excited for, super ready for. We were ready for like another survivor builder co-op type of game, and we were like, this is Lord of the Rings, it's Moria. Now I'm not going to crap all over this game because it did come out too early. That's like straight up,
and it's early access,
and it's very early access,
but it's too early access.
Yep. A lot of the just basic quality of life stuff that you would expect is just not in the game. The building's janky. Less freedom than initially thought, to mine and to do all that sort of stuff. So while the game definitely has its good points, it needs to work on the basics. It needs to work on the building, needs to work on the combat, needs to work on
at least the songs are good.
The songs are interesting. It sounds like they were recorded by JD and I in an evening, right?
Doing different voices and just layering them on top of each other.
Because if you didn't know, as you're mining, if you're playing co-op, you can like sing the same song together, and you're singing like a duet or a trio, right? And so it's kind of cool. Like, that's interesting. But I don't love the way they sound, if I'm being 100% honest. Maybe it's better while you're playing the game.
You don't like that they sound bad? That's so weird.
But this game is one that I've been wanting, and it released, super excited about the release, and then it just felt uncooked. It needs to go for another, honestly, year and a half.
Yeah.
And that's a hard year and a half too, if I'm being 100% honest. Like, we're looking at 2 years till this game is worth playing, kind of a cyberpunk situation.
Yeah.
The game needs 2 more years to bake, to be honest.
I hope it's good. I hope it ends up being better.
Same with me. Because as JD's mentioned before, Valheim has kind of came out so hot, just perfect for what everyone wanted. And then kind of some of the new content they've been releasing is maybe taking away from that. Now, the good part about Valheim is you can do mods at this point for whatever you want.
Just fix it all.
You just do whatever you want with the mods, to be honest. But, I think Return to Moria still has 2 years, year and a half, 2 years before it's even worth jumping into. My buddies jumped into it, and these are the guys who get like super hardcore into a game. They didn't even make it a week.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
that's rough.
So it needs a couple years, honestly. So Return to Moria, it should have just kept cooking. Honestly, just kept cooking.
Yeah. Another one for me is Fallout 76. That one goes right up on my Rushmore.
That's a really good one.
The biggest letdown for me is that 76 came out I believe the year after Fallout 4. And I was hyped. I mean, I loved Fallout 3. I played it a bunch, all the DLCs, all that shit. Got all the achievements on Xbox 360. And then I played Fallout 4 and loved it to death. I know there were a lot of critiques. A lot of people didn't like Fallout 4, especially Fallout fans.
But it was still fun. Like, it
worked for me.
It wasn't Fallout New Vegas. That's what I'll say. Fallout New Vegas, for some reason, just was perfect.
I also loved New Vegas, but I like 3 more than New Vegas.
Do you?
Yeah.
I was into New Vegas a lot.
I really like New Vegas too, though.
But I didn't dislike 4, right? 4 came out, and I was like, I like this game a lot.
It's fun for its own things. And so I was on the hype train for Fallout. And 76, the promise of it to be some form of multiplayer survival type game that we could play together sounded on paper like the best, smartest thing ever. And I thought it sounded so perfect. We later found out, obviously, you can't just port a multiplayer experience game into a single player game. An engine that has specifically been made for these single player Fallout games for years and years. And then you're just like, we'll just twist it and make it for multiplayer. It didn't work and it sucked. And they spent years and years and years making it better. And from what I understand, Fallout 76 is okay now. Okay to good. It's
been pretty good for a few years. I will say that my biggest complaint, because I tried to jump into, we tried to play this game with the Lee Bros, with the crew. We tried to play it maybe a year ago. I was like, dude, let's do it, because they've been releasing content. The world, from what I understand, when you first played it, the world felt super empty.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, Fallout is interesting because it has to feel both. It has to feel empty, but also like
lived in
enough to make it feel interesting.
Yeah.
That's like the interesting thing about Fallout, is finding these crazy towns and these little homesteads and like just the wacky stuff going on. But this one felt empty. So now it's pretty full. Like there's stuff, there's so much to do, there's things going on. So I tried to jump into it. Honestly, it was impossible to get into. I couldn't even figure out how to get into the game. It like opened up a launcher that wouldn't work, and like, nothing was working. Like it was a nightmare to even try to play Fallout 76. So I quit before I even got to it. I probably spent an hour trying to get into the game and I couldn't. So
wow,
that's a mistake.
So yeah, I think just from the outset, this game launched without. I mean, it was set. The Fallout games are usually set 100 to 200 plus years after the bombs fall. This one was set 25 years, which was challenging. And then they added they used this time difference to add 1 billion enemy types and all sorts of other things that aren't really Fallout. And so it just felt wrong and weird. And I think it needed a lot more time to bake. So I wish they delayed 76. And it was in that rush. I remember that Bethesda event where Todd Howard was like, Fallout 4 comes out this year, and then next year 76, and he was just like dropping everything. He just got a little too hyped on his own hype.
He got too excited.
Yeah, he got a little sugar high. He announced Fallout 76 a year early. Happens to the best of us. What else you got?
Okay, this one should not come as a surprise, but Starfield.
Oh my God.
So here's the thing.
How big of a letdown has it sounded like?
It's honestly, it's been super mixed, and I think that's the biggest disappointment.
It should be amazing.
Yeah, and what I'm seeing, right? Because I haven't actually gotten into it yet. Again, a little bit kind of waiting because some of those preliminary reviews, a lot of them were like, "This game's great, a lot of fun, just come on and play." But also there's some issues that have been really dragging people down, and that's the last thing you want. And when I've got other games to play, I'm kind of not super impatient to play it. I want to play it, but I'm playing Baldur's Gate 3, which is a giant game. And so I haven't played Starfield yet because I'm just waiting for it to bake a little bit more. And honestly, this game feels a lot closer. It feels a lot closer. They just did a big update. Just like in the last week or so, that just fixed some UI situations. Just things like quality of life stuff is a big deal in games now because we've played games that do it right. And when a game doesn't, it is so noticeable and so painful. And it shouldn't be painful, like opening the map and going to an ad, right? None of this stuff should be painful at all. And so Starfield is a game that I'm going to play it. I have plans to play it, but I'm honestly just waiting for it to cook just a little bit more. It needs to stay in there a little bit, fix some of the issues that people and honestly, knowing Bethesda, I'm pretty confident that they will fix more issues. They'll continue to fix them to make the game better and better. And like that's the version I want to play, right? Like we played Fallout 4 right out the gate, and I played it a lot. And then they did some issue fixes, but I wasn't going to go back in and start over. And so, Bethesda does this. Starfield, they're going to do the same thing. Just go and fix some of those things, and that's the one I want to play. So just kind of waiting for it to cook a little bit more. Carve the rest of George Washington's face in Mount Rushmore, and then I'll play it.
Just going to start with his nose. Let's see. I got 2 more for my Mount Rushmore. One I'll just do quickly. Sonic the Hedgehog 2006. The game was just called Sonic the Hedgehog. It was kind of supposed to be a relaunch for the Sonic franchise in 3D, and it essentially killed it. I mean, it was rough. This was for the Xbox 360. It was the first year of the Xbox 360, and I was really hyped because the Xbox 360 sure felt like a spiritual successor to the Dreamcast in some ways. And I'm like, man, we get a good Sonic game here. The next one, set up to be Sonic the Hedgehog 2, Sonic the Hedgehog 3, and they're all like, okay, cool, we start over. I liked Sonic Adventure, so I was a big fan of 3D Sonic. And this game came out, it was the worst game ever. I mean, it was unplayable. Trent had it, let me borrow it. It was unplayable. We were talking minute load times. 30-second to minute load times, and that's in between dying. And you could die because, Sonic is notorious for the going very fast, and so the game is trying to load very fast in some instances where you're running or you run up a track. And I remember there's an instance where I ran through the track, fell through the map, and it took 30 seconds for me for the game to figure out that I was dying or dead. And then I go back and I just get rewarded with a giant long load screen. And I mean, like I said, unplayable. So I didn't even get to the other gripes that people had with the story was way weird. And Sonic was trying to fuck a human princess and everything. No one was acknowledging that he's a little blue hedgehog anime character. It's so weird. It was just weird and off kilter. Introduced random new characters that people were like, it could be cool if the game was good. I really think that with a couple extra years, maybe one extra year, this could have been great. I mean, it was on a brand new system and they wanted it out. They wanted it out as quickly as possible. This is definitely one I think with another year to cook could have been good. And then the next Sonic game on the Xbox 360 wouldn't have been Sonic Unleashed featuring a werehog, where Sonic turned into a werehog.
Perfect.
And then it would turn into a brawler instead of a fast platformer. So, yeah, I think we could have had a better Sonic experience up until today. I think Sonic the Hedgehog 2006 is really not the first bad Sonic game, but man, it really kicked off an era of shit Sonic games.
Can I do a quick one?
Yeah.
This is one we've been playing again. We jump back into In and Out. Project Zomboid. This is a game.
Yeah. I wish that this had been delayed.
Dude, it's not even out yet.
How can you say you wish it had been delayed?
Well, I wish they would just make the full game because it's been early access since 2013. They've promised all sorts of quality of life improvements.
Zomboid came. They dropped it in 2013. That game has been in development for a decade. Zomboid?
Yes.
I thought Zomboid had been they've been working on it for a year or two. A decade?
They should honestly just not release the game and finished it.
What is it? Star Citizen of zombie games?
Dude,
that's crazy.
All the stuff they promised never came to fruition. They promised NPCs and storylines and all that stuff, and none of that's in there. So yeah, this is a game, and now they're kind of stuck in their own cycle. Now they're just trying to sell games, honestly. They should have released it in 2015 with all the stuff in it. And honestly, it would still be a giant hit if they had done that and kind of delivered what was promised, but instead, no, they just released it, and now they're just stuck in development hell, just constantly trying to update, constantly throwing it. They're not throwing in anything new, just the tiniest little patches and tiniest little content. And so, yeah, the modders have done more for this game than the developers.
Dude, that's brutal.
Yeah. Anyway, what was your last one?
Modern Warfare 2, Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2, the original, not whatever the hell they just released. So Call of Duty 4 Modern Warfare was one of the best first-person shooters ever in terms of their campaign. The campaign was phenomenal. The multiplayer was excellent. I mean, there was bonus missions that were really cool. There was challenges. It was just a well-rounded, very thought-out game, and it was amazing. And Modern Warfare 2 came out, and it was good enough. The multiplayer had been updated. They'd added weapons and other gameplay things and cool kill streak rewards and other bonus things that you can put on your profile. And so people kind of ignored the fact that the campaign was half the length of the first one, if not shorter. And we're like, it's okay. It's okay. It's fine. It's, and then Modern Warfare 3 came out and the campaign was 4 hours long. And at that point, the multiplayer had also degraded because they're like, fuck it, these idiots will buy anything. But so I really think Modern Warfare was the first one. And that's where I know this is crazy to say, but if they had delayed Modern Warfare 2, it would have upset the annual release cycle of Call of Duty, potentially made Call of Modern Warfare 2 an even better game than the first one, and it might have been able to buy the developers of these games an extra year between their releases. I know it's insane. It never would have happened. They never would have let that happen. But if they had, it would have had to start with Modern Warfare 2. So that's where I think that one, wish that had been delayed. There's only so good. They were doing that. So Activision and Treyarch or whatever, it was Infinity Ward and Treyarch would take turns making these games every other year. So they had 2 years to make it. If they'd had 3 or 4, oh man, Modern Warfare 2 could have been a banger.
Would have been absolutely, yeah.
So epic.
I think you're right. And they again got themselves stuck in the business cycle of games instead of, and honestly,
this is where it really started to degrade, because Call of Duty 1, 2, 3, and 4. 3 was Treyarch, and it was not as good as 2, but it was still solid. And 2 was amazing, but that's the wheels came off at Modern Warfare 2. It was over.
This whole segment should be called "Gabe Was Right."
Gabe was right. Yep.
Suck is forever.
These are really Modern Warfare 2. I probably is one of the best remembered games on this. You'd be hard pressed to find people that like hated it or really didn't enjoy it. Modern Warfare 3, sure. But yeah, the rest of these absolute suck. Yeah. Sonic the Hedgehog, Fallout 76.
They could have just been so much better on release,
just
you know.
Forever suck.
Yep.
Is that it? Did you get all yours?
Yeah.
Okay. Those are our Mount Rushmores. Guys, jump on Discord. Tell us which games you wish had been delayed, beloved games, maybe sequels to games that just didn't pan out that you loved. I want to hear them.
Dice of Destiny.
All right, Dice of Destiny is this game we play at the end of every episode. We roll a 6-sided dice to see who will be rolling the Dice of Destiny itself, a 20-sided dice with 20 different game genres assigned to it. Then we roll another 6-sided dice, and the person that has to find a game, 6-sided dice to find the budget that you have to spend on the game. The person will then find a game in that genre for that price, pick it, play it, review it. A couple weeks back or a week ago, I rolled a female protagonist game, a game with a female protagonist for $40, and I picked a game called Signalis. Signalis is a survival horror game. I believe it just came out last year. Let's see.
October 2022.
Yeah, so last year, about a year plus. And it was beloved. Everyone loved this game. Reviewers loved this game. Steam people love this game. Peterson and I both had it on our wish list, so it was an easy get for me. It's a top down. I'd say it's top down, but it's like kind of that 2.5D isometric perspective that you might see in like Resident Evil, like the classic Resident Evil games on PlayStation. It's very slow. In that your character just kind of like walks around slowly, like lots of survival horror games, and you just go room to room to explore the map. So you go into a room and it has a handful of doors, and you go through whichever ones are open, and some of them are locked, and so you have to go find the keys or solve puzzles. The let's see, you have 6 item slots, which is kind of it's 80 to 90% of the time it's fine. And it's actually kind of cool because you have to go back to these rooms like the OG Resident Evil games where there's like it's a save room that has a box where you can store shit. You can store as much shit as you want in there. But if you're like, oh crap, like I have the pistol right now, I don't have any ammo. But you have to go back and grab the shotgun ammo, and then go. You throw your pistol back in the box, and maybe you'll find some more pistol ammo, and then you can switch guns. So you have to be pretty thoughtful about it. The combat is mid. You aim slowly at these monsters. You shoot them once or twice, and then you run over and stomp them out. You can shoot them on the ground, but you really want to conserve your ammo because it's very minimal. So and sometimes you leave them. I was leaving them alive in the room because I could run around them successfully, and it wasn't worth the ammo to kill them. Speaking of the ammo, I thought it was really incredibly well balanced. The ammo and the health. I was always throughout the whole game almost just out of both, and it felt great. I wasn't trying super hard to conserve ammo, but I was doing my best to do it. I wasn't being like super like crazy about it. Like I'll throw away some shots in panic. And then my health, it was crazy. Like every time I just needed one health kit, there was one. And it wasn't like it was like programmed that way. They just predicted it really well.
Nice.
Where people's health would be throughout the game and how much ammo they'd need. The puzzles in this game are trying to think, but I will say with a lot of confidence, probably the most punishing puzzles I've ever played in a video game.
Wow, really?
Like, punishing in each one when you finish it. I felt like I'm the only person alive that could have ever solved this without Googling it. Like some of them, I'm like, how are you? That they make you feel so smart. When you figure it out, you're like, oh my God, no fucking way. No way. No way could someone figure that out. I'm the only person that could figure that out. I looked up one puzzle. I only looked up one puzzle, and it was because I was convinced. I've become very sensitive to this over the years. I was convinced it was color-based. This game didn't have a colorblind mode. And so I was convinced I was getting fucked because I couldn't see the colors. And I'm not going to waste an hour on a puzzle that's based on colors, and I can't see what to do because your developers are buttholes and didn't think of this. I'm not putting like the red in the maroon like circle. That's dumb. I'm not doing it. So I looked it up. It wasn't colorblind related. I should have been able to figure it out. It was a little weird. But let's see. I'm trying to think of all the positive stuff before I get into the other nits. The story was kind of interesting, but then you wake up as a android on a crashed spaceship, and your human companion on the ship is missing. And so you end up in a compound kind of that's on this planet you crashed in, and you're exploring the compound ostensibly looking for your crashed shipmate, but you run into this compound and you find the whole thing is just filled with like corrupted androids that are trying to kill you. And that's it. And the story is slowly revealed through these really confusing cutscenes and very random flashes of like German and Japanese language text on the screen. The whole game has like a CRT effect to it, which is really I just didn't like it. Like I understood the style at first, but like it hurts your eyes. Like it's blurry and your eyes keep trying to focus where they can't focus. And it's like, haha, cool effect. But you made a headache game. There's things that you can toggle in the settings. I think my eyes just got used to it, but I never liked it. I thought it was kind of dumb. So I will say that despite the puzzles being amazing, despite the game feeling appropriately scary and hard to survive, yet very well designed and planned, the game overstayed its welcome for me.
Oh, interesting.
And I'll sum it up this way. I was one of the last sections I was playing. I literally was going I had the map and I was looking at it, and I would go from room to room, and I would just find a key in one room, go unlock another room, where I'd find a key for another room and go unlock another room. I was starting to miss the enemies, even though I didn't have much ammo. I was like, I hope I run into a bad guy because I
find someone to fight.
Fucking bored. And it's a slight lag, but it's still like 2 to 3 seconds in between each room that it loads. And it just became ever so tedious. And the fact that significant story details are being flashed on the screen and cutscenes that you cannot take a second to process, because like I said, the CRT effect and all the flashing lights and it's trying so hard to be artsy fartsy. Jeff Keighley would call this an indie game, just sight unseen. He's like, oh, it's different, so it's an indie game. So it is, like I said, you have to fight to get the story out. So that was my first ding, is the story didn't. I'm playing this the last Dice of Destiny game I played, still Skull, the Hero Slayer. I'm playing that. It is a roguelike. Roguelike stories are like minimum at best.
Yeah.
And I'm more interested in the story in that than I was in this survival horror that is very story-based. And that was because they were trying so goddamn hard to make the story really obtuse and like hard to figure out. So I get through the other section. I end up in like the basement of this creepy area, and it gets worse because now I don't have a map. And now if I go into a room from like, I leave a room and I'll go into the door in the top, I like come out the left door in another room. So it's like deliberately confusing. It's trying to be like a maze kind of a deal.
Yeah.
But it's actually not that confusing. You get the lay of the land pretty quickly, and it just is irritating. It's just irritating because you have to take an extra 15, 20 minutes wandering around lost. And then you get the whole map memorized and you're like, just give me a map. It'd be easier if you just give me a map from the fucking beginning. I got nothing from this experience. I've now memorized the whole map, which doesn't do shit for me. And then so I get through that part, and this incredibly confusing. And there's these cutscenes that are happening, that goes into first person mode, and you like kind of wander on a beach, lost as fuck, picking up pages that are like ripped out of a diary, and they're all disjointed and don't make a ton of sense. And I beat this area, and there's another confusing cutscene. My character climbs up a ladder and tries to open this hatch to a spaceship, rips her arm off, and then dies. Credits roll.
Okay.
And I'm like, phew, the game's over. But God, was that fucking disappointing.
Wow,
that was disappointing. But like I said, it overstayed its welcome. I was ready for it to be done. So in preparation for this, I go to check the Wikipedia to see the plot summary. Can it explain what I just saw? I see the plot summary is 5 paragraphs long on Wikipedia. What the fuck? I skipped to the end. There's 3 different endings. I read all 3. I didn't get any of those. So I skip ahead. And I lost Peterson. Oh. I hope he comes back. Oh, sad Peterson.
That's why I'm back.
Okay. So did you mark the time on that?
Yeah.
So I skip ahead back to the beginning and read the actual Wikipedia plot summary, and I find out that I was at the false ending. And what you're supposed to do is enter. So it took me, after I watched the credits, it took me back to the beginning, or the main screen, and I was supposed to click start, begin. That's the button, like the first time I saw it, which I didn't click because I was like, I don't want to play this game again. Are you fucking serious?
Right.
And it starts you in the middle. So I then read the rest of the plot summary because I knew I wasn't interested in booting the game back up. And I was so fucking annoyed. This false death, it didn't matter. It had no bearing. It's not like Doki Doki where like the 3rd wall or the 4th wall break was like part of it.
Yeah.
Or like all these other games like Undertale, where it's like all about like, oh, go delete this file in your game folder, whatever, things like that. This game had no signs of that whatsoever. There was no like 4th wall break or whatever. And honest to God, this game, had I not looked this up, had I not looked up the wiki, I'd be sitting here reviewing it like, the story was terrible. It was so stupid. It didn't make any fucking sense. So that's a huge failure, in my opinion. It was pointless. It's fucking pointless. You just wanted to roll the credits and show the game makers in the middle of the game experience. That's like the only fucking explanation I can have. And the real problem is here that I went and read the rest of the plot summary, and it is good. I mean, it is fucking. And so, spoiler alert: if you want to play Signalis, don't listen to the rest of the podcast. Just cut it off because I'm going to spoil the shit out of it for you. The idea was this whole time, and these tiny little things that you're getting dripped, and I kind of picked up on it, is that your human companion, when you crash landed, was like fucked up, and you put her in a cryo sleep. But before you do that, she basically makes you promise to kill her if you can't fix her. Don't leave me here in the cryo sleep forever, like wake me up and kill me. That's my promise. And so the whole game, you're hearing, do you remember the promise? Do you remember the promise? Whatever. And only at the very end of the game, if you get one of the 3 endings and it's not the standard ending, do you find out that's the promise? Otherwise, if the ending I was trending toward was that I would my character was too much of a chicken shit to actually go like see her and open her cryo. So she just wanders off. My character wanders off into the desert and dies. And then there's another ending that's just like some other nonsense, but there's only one ending that actually explains the story. And you have to play the game essentially 3 times to get all of this. And I'm like, dude, it wasn't that good. And like I said, the gameplay makes it so fucking tedious. And if you miss one thing in one puzzle and you just are wandering, and you're like me and I don't want to Google it, you're just wandering through this very painfully slow map and you're lost. And it's so irritating. And then all of a sudden, for whatever reason, the zombies you've already killed start coming back to life. So you have to use more ammo. And you're like, oh, God damn, what the fuck? And then if you die, it takes you back. You have to reload a save. But instead of just being like, do you want to reload your last save? It takes you back to the main menu. And you have to go like manually do it like that. Like it's like you lost. And it has all things are just so long and drawn out, painful. And I don't know, man. If I would say anything, I just say it wasn't at all rewarding. The game was not rewarding. There were so many elements of it that were so good. So good. But it, like I said, it overstayed its welcome and it wasn't rewarding. So
that's unfortunate. Like they
bummed me out.
They tried too hard.
It exclusively has good reviews. Like I'm the only one that feels this way about Solaris. If you look at it on the store on Steam, I believe it has I believe it's overwhelmingly positive.
It is, yeah.
And if you look at the critical reviews, everyone loved it to death. But the fact that I would have to take screenshots of these cutscenes to actually, and then I don't know, use Google Translate to read, because it was written by 2 people, and I think one of them was Japanese and one of them was German. So they're just like throwing random words and stuff in here. And I'm like, that's really cutesy and fun for you two. I'm sure the 2 of you had a lot of fun with this. But I don't want my game to feel like I'm watching Westworld through a kaleidoscope and trying to piece together the show, which is already confusing because
right.
The whole world itself, which I didn't really touch on, is very confusing. Half of the journal entries, if not more, I read every journal entry too. I was not like skimming the game and I still couldn't glean a lot, but half the journal entries are about different versions, I guess, of these different androids that they have. And there's like 8 of them. And they all look like the same anime chick. They all look the exact fucking same art style. They're like footless anime girl, robot, like whatever. And they all have like tiny little details that are different about them. So you get all these names. And that's how I didn't even know that, like, I couldn't even follow any of it. They all look the same. They all do the same thing. And it has no bearing on the fucking plot. The fact that there's like a million different androids in this world doesn't have any bearing. It's like a spacefaring futuristic sci-fi thing, but just so even the world building was confusing. So you have no bearing for consuming this story. It's just all crazy nonsense nonstop. And then, like I said, the gameplay's tedious on top of that. Bummer. Fucking bummer. So unless you're looking for an old school Resident Evil style game, there are people, obviously, the audience that this game was made for loved it. I'm not that audience. I'm sorry. I guess I'm not. But if you like survival horror, you like those old school PlayStation 1 Resident Evil games, you'll like this. You will. I'm sorry I spoiled the shit out of the story, but I don't think you get it. I don't think you'll get that story knowing the spoilers. You'll be fucking confused the whole time. So Signalis is how much dollars? Did you have it?
It's on sale, right? It's normally $20. It's on sale right now for $14.
Yeah, I mean, that's worth it. I mean, I'd wait for a sale personally, but if this didn't turn you off, yeah, play Signalis. You'll like it. But for me, the tedium of just back and forth and back and forth and back and forth didn't outweigh the amazing puzzles and otherwise really clever gameplay.
Okay.
So right, we got a reroll. That's a bummer, but let's see what else we can get. Oh, let me pull up here the thingy. Dice of Destiny. Let's see what we got. All right, what numbers do you want on this six-sided dice?
Give me the even numbers.
Okie dokie. It's a 3. The really good thing I don't have a job right now, people. I keep rolling the dice 3 in a row on the Dice of Destiny.
I know we're gonna have to change the odds next time.
I know, definitely next time. Bring in like 2 or 3 guests. All right, 20-sided.
Would you roll?
Well, it's a misroll. I rolled a 9. What's
Floor
a 9?
rolls don't count.
An EGS free game?
Oh,
That's sick. That's sick.
You have to play whatever the EGS free game is.
Is it that, or do I get to choose one of the ones I've already downloaded?
I think when I put it, I was saying, well, we can decide now. I was saying you got to play whatever the free game is right now.
What is it right now? I've got to
deliver
pull up the launcher. It's going to take
Deliver
8
Us
years.
Mars.
Deliver Us Mars?
I don't know what this is.
Well, it's got Mars in the title, so
Action
I'm probably
adventure indie. Has good reviews.
Well,
it might
be a
be
chance
this.
of playing that then this week.
Yeah.
All right. Well, EGS is off. Survival is on the board.
Okay.
Still no luck on that 19.
We'll get it.
We'll get it one day. All right, that's it. Thanks for sticking with us. Thanks for listening to my long, drawn-out review of Signalis. I don't know. I just was so let down by that game. To play us out, we have some creepy music from the game. I don't remember much music happening.
You'll hear why. It's all ambience music.
All right, well, that's all we got. Go do some Christmas shopping. I'm JD logging off.
This is Peterson going AFK.